I need to know who the standards for Ibira people are. Who are the standards? Who are the people that you look up to? I'm Igbo, right? I have a lot of people that we look up to. In fact, when I was reading your book, there's always someone whose back never touched the earth. In fact, in my place, they will call him Mama Lindsay. They will call him a cat. His back never touches the ground. So every culture, we all kind of have that. And I remember drawing parallels when I was reading your book between the way he was brought up and then other people around the world. I remember when you said he was kept in, you wrote that he was in the forest for a while. I thought about Spartans when I heard that. So there's always some coming of age ritual for young men around the world. But I want to be able to get from the people that we're speaking to here, who are the influences? Who are the Ibira people that stand out for each and every one of you around the world doing things, whether in Nigeria or abroad? Who are the Ibira people that you're looking up to? I'm going to start with Joshua.
Well, thank you very much. I have never isolated mentors or defined mentorship by creed or clan. I have always identified mentors by their principles, their actions, and the impact, especially in areas that I am interested in. So one of the mentors for me particularly is my older brothers. They've always been there guiding. I did not grow up raised only by my father, who was a major mentor. I grew up raised by my uncles as well. Everybody pitched in. Um, I've seen lots of Ibra people in power, and um, if I pointed at each one of them and say these were my mentors, um, someone else can point at them and say, but these were their flaws. So I'm fortunate never to have been able to point at one person and say, this person is my mentor and I'm looking forward to him. But I can point to so many of them. And many of them flawed, but strong. And what is a human being without his flaws? His flaws give you an idea of what he has overcome. So I do not want to mention names outside the people that I know that if I look at the principles or my immediate fence of security, I will call from when I was very young, when I had my parents who were way up there. I'll call first of all my immediate older brothers. I had my brother in the UK, Tom, and I had my older brother, Dan. I had my uncle. You were you were a nuisance at that time, but I mean, I mean, I was asked to look upward and forward, not backward. All right. So I'll call, I'll call my older brother Tom. I'll call my eldest brother Dan. I'll call my uncle Abel, who when I was growing up, for me, I was a very frail young man, but he was an Ibra older man. I was a frail young boy. He was an Ibra older man that, first of all, was physically strong. He was my first example of what Samson in the Bible looked like. Yes, yeah. So as a boxer in his teens, as a boxer, he was called double killer because he was too strong to box just one person in the ring. He was a bronze medalist. He was a black belt karate, black belt taekwondo fighter, and he was a bodybuilder, a weightlifter, a swimmer. And this person woke up one day and saw me, and he would dress me up in my light blue PJs and use my mother, who was a nurse, my mother's white crepe bandage as a white belt, and taught me martial arts, taught me strength. He brought out my inner warrior. That's him. My late grandma, from my mother's side, was the first person that looked at me and said to me, she calls me Oges. And Oges basically is Ogege, someone that is just like, not Gege, not Gege, not, but Ogege is someone that is just like a dainty pet petite, smallish, frail kind of person. But when I was going to secondary school, she came to me and said to me, listen, don't be afraid of any other man. If anybody frightens you, look him in the eye and say, Oja Pasimivin. She taught me the clan name. I said I should always address my enemies, calling my clan name. She taught me that. I'll talk about my uncle who was a top banker, a very intelligent man. He's the first person, this Uncle Moses Ochu, who's in the US or somewhere around there, but the first person I wrote a letter to sent me a letter back and says to me, that was a very good letter. And because of that letter, I think he paid the school fees, or he did something for me financially. I mean, that was junior secondary school. So I can list them. These were people who could have moved on and not cared because they had their own lives. Or what I call Uncle Peter. Uncle Peter Atta was like a rock. This guy was like a deaf mute, It may not be the best example, but Uncle Peter, during raining season, would see a toad. The toads were everywhere, and he would kick that thing as fast as a golf ball can go, But then again, Uncle Peter, I am very sure of this. If you tried to harm me when he was present, I'm pretty sure he would rip you apart with his bare hands. He had an unusual loyalty, to taking care of me and my brothers. These were the people that my father, my mother, these were the people that became my immediate mentors and guides, Recently, I felt really cornered by life, and the first person I called out was not God. Yes, I've been calling out to God, but that particular day, I called my father. I said, I know you're there. I need some help. Make it happen. So for me, this is what I can point out. If I'm looking for Ebira, people who have formed me to who I am today, these are just a few of them.
Okay, for me, I would say I have a couple of people, like he said, though flawed, but not even being too deeply ingrained in my culture through language. My dad didn't really speak to us until we were grown, and then he was struggling to make it work. And it just didn't happen. So yeah, we know the peripherals, but not deep. But he spoke about my grandfather, the Ohinoi then of Ebira land. Very notorious man, because I understand that he must have had almost 49 wives, something like that. And counting, I saw a picture of him and the many women around him, like a little city of people. But the thing that stood out for me, like I said, he was notorious because I think he used to just see babes, somebody else's wife, and be like, I like this one. Bring her to the palace. That was crazy. I'm sorry, so crazy and crazy. But when the colonial masters came, he exchanged his children. I don't know, it's like he pushed for his children to be educated. And I have a sea of uncles and aunties. Auntie Sefi, Dr. Atta, who was once the doctor to the first prime minister of Nigeria, northern region of Nigeria. We have several of them. I have several uncles and aunties who really stood out. And just like Andy said, very, very good and excellent in everything that they do. Aminu Atta, who owns the Fifth Choka, Adamu Atta, also my cousin, my older cousin, he owns the Fifth Choka in Kaduna. There are so many of them that have had an excellent spirit. Even the tailors, if you go around, some of the best tailors, some of the best hairdressers are Ebira. They can plait hair and it looks like magic. It looks like the ridges it's not like every other cornrow. You will know that this was done by an Ebira woman. And people will ask you, where did you get this done? Whether it's two hands, whether it's normal weaving, we are excellent. And I look up to myself as well, my sisters. My sisters and myself, we are a bundle of resilience. It's like grit. the world keeps throwing punches, but we always find our ways to still excel, stand out, shine. I had an auntie she's 90 something this year, Auntie Sefi, and she still sits and watches the Pope. Oh, Pop. So yeah, many of them converted as they went off to school abroad and all, and trickling down to the rest of us. We have our parents who did not play with education. They didn't take it lightly. Many of us, most of us are educated. Like I said, he had 49 wives and counting. So we bump into our cousins, you just go to school and you're like, we kind of look alike. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm Atta. Oh, which Atta? Uncle Adamu. Oh, Uncle, oh. So we used to bump into ourselves. Thank God we didn't marry our cousins. But yeah, you see that notorious man. But that thing that he did, I think he didn't just encourage his own family to be educated. It spread, it kind of spread because it became like a blueprint. So I think the average Ibira person and not just educated, they are determined. Yeah. My classmates, they are the efficos in class. They are the ones that want to, like my brothers here. You cannot have normal conversations with them. You can't have normal. You are talking like this, and then 5 things just come out of this one statement that you make. And so, yeah, the average Ibira person is educated. Even if not book educated, they are educated in some way. Just like he said, farming, whatever we find ourselves doing, we do it well, we do it excellently. So all of us are my mentors. Thank you.
All right. We are everyday people. Ebira people are everyday people. Again, cycling back to Ejivade, he was skilled in so many things, but he could also relate with everyone. It was almost like he was keen-spirited with everyone. And when you look at it then, who are our mentors? It's not the people in leadership. No, it's always someone close by. It's always a family member. I don't think anybody will tell you a story other than that. A family member. Mine was my dad. My dad is what you call, or was what you called, a gentleman. But my dad, there's a story I heard growing up about thieves raiding our neighbor's house. And while they were trying to break into the house, into the through the window, no one knew that my dad had come out, and he leaned on the wall. And when he noticed that they were making some headway, my dad simply said something like, "Hey, hey, hey," and out of fear, like they all took off. I grew up hearing that story about my dad. My dad was a peaceful person. He was friendly. I had, when I entered university, 100 level, I came home one day and I heard my dad gisting with someone animatedly, and I looked around, there was no car out there, so I said maybe it was a neighbor. I got inside there and I found one of my schoolmates, secondary schoolmates, who wanted to surprise me and traced my house and met my dad at home, and they were gisting like buddies. That was my dad. Male, female, he would talk to you. If he didn't like you, he would still talk to you. When you've gone, he'll call the particular child, maybe me, let me use me as an example, and he'll say, "Don't ever allow that person come here again." He was a very principled man, but the only time he would use that in a negative way was when you tested him. That has been my role model. That has been my approach to life. Another story, Josh and I, we were together at an event, and someone that knew us separately didn't know we were brothers, and he approached us, and he said, "Wait, are you guys related in any way?" I said, "Yeah, we're brothers. This is my older brother." He said, "Oh, really? Where are you from?" We said, "Kogi State." He now looked. Funny enough, his name is Usoro too. Okay. Yes. He now said that, "Wait, Kogi State, where?" We said, Okene. He said, "You're Ebira." We said, "Yes," and he started backing away. But then he came back and he said we were the most gentle Ebira people he had ever seen. And I think that is our story. And so if you ask me again, who are my mentors, I would tell you instantly, first and foremost, my dad. Secondly, every everyday Ebira person that we meet. Those are my mentors. I learn from everybody here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, my first mentor will have to be Nana Otedola for marrying one of the richest men in Nigeria. Yes, she is. Okay. So jokes aside. So, like everybody said, don't be tired of me, yes. So really, jokes aside, like everybody said, especially our family, coming from the Atta family, really, we didn't really grow up like so deeply entrenched in like Ibira culture and understanding, maybe because our mom is Yoruba, so there's always been that, diversity there. But in growing up, engaging with our cousins, you just be going your way. Then you hear one your uncle is maybe IG of police, one your auntie is ambassador to somewhere, So you're like, wow, these people are actually, because how we grew up, it was in the middle. So most of the time, what you hear about Ibira people is like the general conception of, Ibira people are very aggressive, they are fighters, they are this, they are that. So when you now hear that this your uncle is doing this your auntie is doing that, it's like, wow, we are actually people of substance. We are not the scum of the earth, the way, the way we are made to look like, we are just a bunch of troublesome people. So for me, that has been very inspiring when I see a lot of what, my family members have achieved, are achieving, and of course, my immediate family, Ibira people are not necessarily seen as people that can love, but I've seen that love in my family, my sisters, my dad, even as flawed as my dad is, in his own way, he showed us what it is to grow up free, uninhibited, to express yourself, genuinely. When I tell people my name is Hadiza and they see me, they're like, how are you a Hadiza and you look like this? Because I grew up Muslim, but I had the freedom to convert. I had the freedom to just be anything I wanted, and if that is not love, then I don't know what love is, So really, I just have to give kudos to, my family, my friends. These are peaceful brothers here that we see, Everybody has their issues, but when you look beyond that, we are fantastic people. And of course, I cannot but mention Senator Natasha, really, in recent times, she's been somebody that I've been really inspired by, even though, yes, everybody has their own interpretation to the story and whatever, but forgetting the journey that she's on right now, I would say the most inspiring thing for me in her journey was getting to that, senatorial seat in the first place. She literally, moved mountains, and it was just so inspiring to see that a woman, an Ibira woman, but a woman nonetheless, was able to get through all of those challenges, a lot of the roadblocks, to get to where she is. So kudos to every single Ibira person out there, and may all of us become more, of those people that our generation will look back and be like, wow, these were phenomenal Ibira people as well. So thank you.
Just for context, she beat another Ibira person.
What happened?
Who was the other Ibira person?
Don't hate the player.
What
Hate the
happened?
game.
No, that's not the question. What happened?
What are you finding?
What are you tapping on the wall?
We'll talk about it. Yes.
Okay, so I would pretty much mirror what everyone has said, really. We didn't have the context of growing up deeply entrenched in culture, but there was something that happened. I don't know if you guys remember when we were, I think, when I was 11. This is way back. We used to go to Okene. I think we went 2 times. Yes, and then our uncle was the governor of Then it was Kwara. There was no Kogi then. So we used to go to his house, to stay for the summer. And this was a conglomeration of all our, cousins and cousins and cousins. And there was this particular cousin of mine, God rest her soul. It seems like this is not the person I should look up to. But there was something about her that I was drawn to. Then when I was a child, I wasn't vocal. She was vocal. She was in my face. She was always in my face. In fact, she was always in my face, taunting. Then it was taunting. But she taught me how to fight back. Because that time, I was always like, I don't want to. And then, she would push me to the point where I'll be like, come, what's wrong with you? May God rest her soul. She passed away some years back. But that stood out for me. She made me to start talking, to become vocal, to, speak up for myself. And outside her, my dad, he's a wonderful man. Let me just put it that way. But there's so many giftings I cannot say came from my mom that I have. The gift of oratory and storytelling is from my dad. My dad is a literary dictionary. That's how I put it. He talks, you need to have conversations with him to understand what I'm talking about. The gift of storytelling, I think, is an Ebira thing. Yes, for the Igbo people that are here, yes, we're clocking it. There's a gift. There's a gift of storytelling that he passed down to all of us, and his humor and his love for life. He loves life. Even now, he loves music. My love for music came from him. My love for arts, for travel. There's so much that when initially I didn't used to think about it. I used to be like, oh, I just have this. And then I started digging deeper and I'm like, this came from my dad. There's I cannot trace it to anybody else but him. So there's so much I attribute to him. The history of our family, he always never fails to talk about it. He always never fails to speak about it. And my auntie as well, that's one of the people that, stood out for me, very inspiring woman. She was an ambassador. She was a minister of internal affairs. So we are at the top of our game when we put our minds to it, when we put our hearts to it. There is no stopping us. We get to the top echelon, whichever field we decide to dominate, we do. So I'm grateful for the relationships I've had. And my assessment of wealth, I've said it before, it's not in what you have, it's not in your material possessions, it's the people that are around you, the people that you're connected to. That is actually the wealth that we possess. So I'm grateful for my parents, my family members, and then my brothers have come to me. This is a journey of years and years. And I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for the connection that still exists today. There's so much. She said something about love. It is fickle now, more than ever. And being deliberate about reaching out to someone, talking to them, saying, how are you? Even if it's just, how are you? It goes a very long way. You might never know what you do for that person. There was a time I was in a very low space, and Andy reached out to me. In fact, he did not even know at that time that this was what was happening. It was a very dark, dark place for me at the time. Not that anybody did anything to me. Let me report myself. I did something to myself. So it was me. Yes. Me and my darkness. I started it, but then he reached out to me, and what he said to me was very inspiring. My sisters are my backbone, literally. At that time, it was very, very hard to look at myself and say, you have flaws you need to work on. But they told me to my face, come, you need to work on this. If you know you want to move from this point to this point, you need to work on this. And I'm grateful to have them. They stand as my friends. Sometimes my colleagues at work, they say, do you even have any friends, Safe? You don't see it with anybody. But, you know, I have so many people that stand for me at the sea of my connections. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for mentorship, for leadership. Thank you.